to the first episode of my review of the Goodies box set. We're starting today with episode 1, which is known as the Tower of London and also known as Beefeaters. The story begins with the Goodies moving into their first office, which is designed by Graeme, and they soon get a call from the Tower of London to come and investigate who is stealing the beef from the Beefeaters. As the boys investigate, they soon discover a plot to steal the crown jewels, and the finger points back to the royal family themselves. So my first impressions of this episode, after not having seen it for many years, they look so young. Tim, Graeme and Bill all look so young. I had to check how old they were when this was made, and it turns out that Tim would have been the oldest back then at 30, but Graeme and Bill were both in their 20s. When I was little watching it, they seemed so much older, but seeing it now, they just look like babies. It's amazing to me how young they were when they were doing this. I was really impressed by how instantly the three main characters' personas were established. Graeme as the slightly cool, logical boffin with his corduroy suit, Tim as the cowardly, patriotic, posh one, and Bill as the slightly scruffy and sometimes a bit aggressive rebel. Right from the first instant, those characters are so well established. It's really amazing. I also love the fact that they don't always get along very well, but underlying all their interactions, there is a real warmth that always shines through. I was also really impressed by how well the show's style is established right from this first episode. All those wonderful familiar elements are there. From the great visual gags, the slapstick comedy in those filmed elements, the surreal cartoonish dimension to the comedy, Bill's trips that he has on his sherbet, the parody advertisements, all those things that made the show what it was are really firmly established right from the start. Interestingly, also, the boys' hatred of Rolf Harris is established within the first 3 minutes of the series, and this is something that we will return to later. I was surprised by how many adult gags were in this episode, which obviously went over my head when I was little watching it. From Bill's picking up a copy of Rubber News early in the episode, naked woman in the montage that they show on their video screen, the near-naked woman in the ad parody, and also Tim's implied cross-dressing when he is packing his suitcase to leave. Another subject which we will return to. The guest star in this episode was George Baker, playing an undercover beefeater, plainclothes beefeater. And one of the highlights of the episode for me was George Baker in his torture chamber in the Tower of London, using the torture implements to prepare a sandwich. And it was just such a great example of the Goodies' genius for visual gags and inventive props. It really made me laugh out loud. I really enjoyed it. I was also quite surprised that the Goodies pick the royal family and the traditions around the royal family to send up in this episode in their very first outing. And I think they're really signalling here that they're not afraid to take on any subject for their satire, which is a very bold choice. Another great highlight for me, which I enjoyed so much, was Bill Oddie's wonderful music. Just hearing the Goodies theme makes me feel so happy. I just love it so much. And his music throughout the show, the great songs that he recorded, are a real highlight and really take me back to the days of watching it when I was little. Overall, my first impressions of seeing the first episode again, what an eccentric and idiosyncratic style of comedy these three men created in this show. It is just so unusual and so unlike anything else. And at the heart of it all is the wonderful interactions between Graeme Garden, Bill Oddie and Tim Brooke-Taylor. They play so beautifully against each other. Thanks so much for joining me for this first episode. I'd love to hear your memories about this episode. If you have any, please share them with me. And I hope you will join me next time as we review episode 2. Thanks very much. Bye.